as we are going to be now lighting the candles, and we know what is the meaning of the candle. So can we just, for a while, be calm? Comrade Steve.
Can we all rise as we observe a moment of silence? Can we observe a moment of silence? Just a bit. Due to stigma and discrimination. Let's honor them. Let's appreciate also the people we lost due to COVID and many other diseases. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know whether this process ibileli meaning holona na as a Free State province in a task. I think Bo Comrade Mkalipi, they will assist me. It's a research already. As Free State, we need what we want to do as Free State. So we need that particular person. This moment, he chincha everything about emotional high fever. So I will speak to the PLHIV sector leadership and to find out who is that person. Make it appealing our primary regrets or something about that. So announcement take a that part. How can amonyako libatalin distepa kapalere distepa. Le arisitisa patiela ya monyako yela utloba lilishano. So ke kopa that side until amoela dijo, but please amoeleng ka matsoho uje ikebe ya utlwahala next but o tla bo entse mosebetsi wa re o jele. Announcement ya bobedi. Theme ere equalize and integrate to end AIDS. Ya le monse. Hona di theme tse ngata hampe tse fitileng. So theme ya selemo ina le meaning wa yona. A ke tlo kena yona haholo.
Coach Chair, I'm now going to call to the podium Councillor Irene Mehlomakulu on behalf of Salga. Like I said, that H problem that we must all work together to fight it. Councillor Irene Mehlomakulu.
Halala, Frestata halala. Halala, Memandombela halala. Halala, Ndate Pasha halala. Motsamais ohle, ke sa tlo bakolla ho save nako. Allow me also to stand here on this very important occasion when we commemorate one of the longest pandemics on our modern times. We stand here as we remind our local government association joins the nation and the rest of the world in commemorating the 34th World AIDS Day under the theme Equalize and Integrate to End AIDS. We are conscious to the fact that the theme is to act to address the inequalities which drive the AIDS pandemic using practical, proven, effective measures, including the following: lifting up the availability, quality, and suitability of services, for policies and practices to tackle the stigma and exclusion faced by people living with HIV and by key and marginalized populations, so that everyone is shown respect and is welcomed. Ensuring that sharing of technology 2022. An estimated 38.4 million people were living with HIV across the globe in 2021. South Africa has the biggest HIV epidemic in the world, with new HIV infections in Southern Africa. Despite South Africa having the world's largest antiretroviral therapy program with 5.2 million on HIV treatment, HIV prevalence among the general population in South Africa remains high. Ultimate objective of ending AIDS by 2030. Drawing from the COVID-19 response experience, like with COVID-19, municipalities are better positioned to coordinate responses at local levels that continue to create barriers against access to prevention, treatment, and care. To realize integration, SALGA commits to support and advise municipalities in playing a meaningful role in the response against HIV, TB, and STIs, which is no, it threatens the social economic development. As a result, SALGA is developing a position paper on local government response to HIV, TB, and STIs to ensure common approach and understanding across all municipalities. SALGA will work with SANAC, provincial AIDS councils, and municipalities to ensure functional AIDS councils from the district to ward level to create platform for multi-sectoral coordination and response. To support the equalization efforts for the actions needed to address them. Through equalization and integration, the AIDS pandemic can be defeated. In closing, the local government is committed to advance the implementation and attainment of national, regional. Let us remind ourselves that our work is far from complete. Where there is poverty and sickness, including AIDS, where human beings are being oppressed, there is more work to be done. Close quote by
Ha re lebohe molaetsa o monate wa kgothatso ho tswa ho Councillor Irene Mehlomakulu, the Mayor of Harib District. And my President, Mayor Zingiswa Losi, come and talk to us. You know the workers are the ones that are in the forefront of fighting all the pandemic.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Allow me to first pay respect to the ancestors of the land and its people. Allow me to acknowledge the Minister and Deputy Ministers, the Premier of Free State, Umamuntombela, the MECs and MPLs, SANEC Co-Chair, Comrade Steve Litzike, the Chairperson of Free State House of Traditional Leaders Society Organization, the people living with HIV and AIDS and TB, ndicama kushe ndithokozise kubantwana bethongo, thokozani bogogo nomkhulu. On behalf of the trade union movements, COSATU, FEDUSA, and NACTU, as we commemorate World AIDS Day under the theme, Equalize and Integrate to End AIDS. Chairperson, the majority of people living or affected with HIV and AIDS and TB are of the working age. Therefore, understanding the consequences of HIV and AIDS on the labor force, in the AIDS response to the world of work, major gaps remain which need to be addressed urgently. It is therefore for this reason, Minister, that the Labour Federation leaders have recommitted to work as labor movement in the fight against HIV and AIDS and TB in the world of work. Workplaces, in institutions, domestic workers, farm workers, and communities, including informal sectors. We want to also give gratitude to the ILO, the Southern Africa office led by Director Johnny Musambayana, with his team for the continuous tireless support that they have given, that was made for development partners to adopt a sector to fight against HIV and AIDS. Minister, trade unions have answered this clarion call. It's project home-based care services for workers, which is a health program, Minister, which has been supported by Belgium society trade unions with the aim to combat HIV and AIDS. Some are located in the workplaces so that workers who are infected do not have to lose time at work. They are able to access treatment within the working hours. Yesterday, as we were gathering as civil society forum, as the labor sector, we had a mobile clinic to work with all of us in fighting this pandemic. And these are just few examples. But we want to say, Minister, that trade union is capable of easing the burden, more especially on HIV, AIDS, and TB, and non-communicable diseases. Therefore, Minister, you don't have to look away, give support and resource. And the heart of it is a zero tolerance for any form of discrimination. And this is captured in our labor laws and in the Constitution. As you had said earlier on, Minister, in the briefing session, that you are busy in Parliament with the NHI. We want the implementation of the NHI in a society that is based on justice, a society that is based on fairness, a society that is based on social solidarity. And the implementation of NHI is consistent with the global vision that healthcare should be seen on a social investment and should not be subjected. We want to wish you a successful festivities as we commemorate this important day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kosatu President. Ke ba le problem e nyane e nyenyane. Ha o tlo etsahala re be di-program director tse tharo ka batho ba 50. Bane ba dutse mole. So ne ke kopa hore re hlomphe this formal program. Le tlo qoqa ka mora mona di-artist di teng. Please give us chance. Ho lona ha le qoqa ka nako ya lona. Re se ke ra tlo le disturba mentse re le thole. So hana jwale kopa le fe ya rona nako re etse mosebetsi wa rona. This is formal program. So ke kopa le tlole o qoqa ha be le hopolane haholo. So setse hanyane fela 1 hour fela. Now ke tlo bitsa a poet from a youth sector. She is a provincial, a Free State, from today. I want to take a change. Chairperson who change dinto. Merci. Kitabita riabetswe matobako. A tlega pele a tlo re fa poem for ki chairperson ya province. Ha ke tsebo tlo hlaka kae because ha ke a tseba di artists di na le element ya teng. Jwale ke kopa re abetswe ke tla utlwa ka voice haebe wa nkutlwa kapa ke tla kopa utle ka pele ka mona o tlo re etsetsa poeme eo. Re abetswe matobako ke kopa utle ha ke na nako e enough. Kapa re abetswe ha tsebe. E re ke mo fete he hobane jwale nako ya rona e a tsamaya. May I request a statement of support from the development partner, Eling Ambassador Ruben II, Lena Lithat, key US Ambassador to the Republic of South Africa. Applause, please. Adinyenyana diatla tsena Free State. Mona re bua ka a development partner. So when you, what's a development partner again? Skela bapalanga chelet.
Long. Good morning. Minister Fala, Premier Ntombela, and in the interests of time, all other protocols to be here, in particular, to be here with the activists, those living with HIV, those that we've lost in this too long pandemic. Since 2003, the US government, through the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, or PEPFAR, has, and over the course of 2 decades, in collaboration with the government of South Africa and with the support of 8.9 billion US dollars through PEPFAR, we've seen extraordinary progress in the country by a remarkable 45%, representing one of the steepest reductions in HIV incidence in Eastern and Southern Africa. Now, more than 90% of South Africans, through our partnership with the National Department of Health, more than 5 million South Africans have initiated treatment on life-saving antiretroviral medications. When orphans were raising babies, we can now confidently say that South Africans living with HIV can indeed. PEPFAR collaborates with over 100 organizations, including several that are providing services that are here with us today, and supports over, as we focus on equalizing and integrating our approach to the HIV/AIDS pandemic. We must also emphasize the importance of starting with HIV who takes daily medications and achieves viral suppression cannot spread HIV to other people. Person will live a longer, healthier life and enable other people to live longer, healthier lives. In the days that follow, from truly living up to our theme of equalize and integrate, I had the privilege of attending the Presidential Gender-Based Violence Forum last month. Discrimination and gender-based violence have on the chance of achieving epidemic control. More importantly, I heard their stories about the pain and suffering HIV infections in young South African women come from gender-based violence. In addition, the early initiation of sex in women. I am personally, as the U.S. Ambassador to the Republic of South Africa, personally committed to efforts that reduce states as well. Through our U.S. Dreams program, we have reached over 1 million adolescent girls and young women here in the audience today. Dreams has also realized a more prosperous future for South African young women, linking 3,800 South African women and children are still more likely to be HIV positive than are South African men. We must equalize power between women and men. And we must end gender-based violence and feminicide, the needs of our adolescent girls and young women. And we must continue to develop HIV prevention strategies. In closing, dear friends, let us aim to live in a tomorrow in which HIV is controlled and where the government and the people of the United States of America. I express my deep gratitude to our colleagues in the government of South Africa, in civil society, and to help those living with HIV to live their best lives. Thank you very much. May God bless you all.
Ambassador of the US to the Republic of South Africa. Thank you so much for the encouraging words. We must equalize HIV and AIDS. We must fight not to have new infections. At the moment, South Africa is leading in the number of infections. Let us turn Dr. Tsegofatso Khopane, the SANAC Private Sector Forum Deputy Chairperson, to come to the podium.
Co-chair of SANEC, Ms. Steve Litzike, the Premier of the Free State, allow me to say all protocol observes with great respect. Dumelang. On behalf of the PSF, we'd like to take the opportunity to thank you to participate in the World AIDS Disease and raise awareness. It provides us an opportunity for people worldwide to unite and fight against HIV, show support to the people only devastation HIV inflicted. Those living with it had to fight to be treated with dignity and compassion. And since the first cases of HIV and AIDS, public health and scientific advances have transformed what it means to live with HIV. More effective prevention and treatment and care saves millions of lives. For me, the global fight against HIV and AIDS has made extraordinary progress, and there is conviction that the world and the region and our country can achieve an AIDS-free. It is a prompt for all of us to work for proven practical actions needed to address inequalities and help end HIV and AIDS as we count down access to quality health care in our country. The goal of an AIDS-free generation may be ambitious, but it is possible. It is a goal that is within our reach. An estimated 14.9 million people in our country's formal employment sector, 83% of which work for the private sector. Thus, the role of business ending gap and alleviating the burden of disease. It also provides a great opportunity to run many workplace programs on health. Today, as we commemorate the epidemic, has never been more critical. As we emerge from the devastation of the COVID-19 pandemic, we find ourselves faced with healthcare worker at heart. Despite this, there's a need to redouble our efforts in the battle against HIV and AIDS. The Stats SA mid-year population estimates report. Moreover, the HIV prevalence amongst adults aged between 15 and 49 is 19.6%. This is devastating not only with respect to the sheer numbers of a younger proportion of our working population. Given the above, it is vital that the private sector plays its part against the fight for HIV and AIDS. In this regard, appropriate at this juncture to briefly reflect on the history of the PSF, which is intricately linked to its secretariat, the South African Business Coalition on Health, by the business sector to mobilize and empower businesses in South Africa to take effective action on HIV and AIDS in the workplace and beyond. One of the challenges faced by SABCOA was to ensure full participation of private sector in the SANEC structures and activities. To address this challenge, model and will soon be in a strengthened position to fulfill its vision of being a voice of the South African private sector, united in pursuit of equality, and AIDS has already made significant inroads. A great example was the PSF using its convening power to raise 650,000 US dollars. Of this, that was pledged, 500,000 US dollars was from Anglo American, and 150,000 US dollars was 2028 National Strategic Plan on HIV, TB, and STI, and will closely align its activities to the final version of this crucial document. Afrocentric and De Beers Partnership Project, due to run from December to May 2023, will aim to provide comprehensive health screening of 25,000 and International Labour Organization Partnership Project that ran from October to November this year, reached a target of 1,000 individuals with comprehensive screening in Gauteng initiatives taking place across the private sector, which as part of our efforts, data aggregation and standardization will take place to ensure effective reporting. We know that HIV, AIDS, and TB represent twin epidemics, and a partner to the PSF has taken a challenge of helping to accelerate TB screening. In addition, a 3-month pledge of a containerized chest X-ray unit to support TB screening in the Northern Cape has been activities in the form of providing health screening facilities at today's event. In conclusion, the PSF is taking up its role as a stalwart partner and fight against HIV/AIDS. The PSF of turning these targets into reality in our country. I thank you.
Thanks. Ke bone ka le tlo stopa nthwena ya ho supply dijo. This is a formal program. Batho ba ne ba batla ne ba je ha re qeta mona. This is a formal program. Re batla attention ya batho so that ba kgone ho fumana hore re utlwaneng. Ke tse se ke la disturb mosebetsing wa ka. Etsang wa lona wa ho ja mara le thotse. Ha ke no le disturb. La uka le ya kwata ke le disturb hore se ke la ja mosebetsing wa lona. So lena wa ka se ke la o disturb ha re kgone ho utlwana re sebetse mmoho. Ba ntse ba fitla ba tlo re kgone ho tshwara nako ke a leboha. Now I'm going to call South African National AIDS Council co-chair. I'm calling upon my chairperson, the co-chair of SANAC, and the chairperson of SANAC Civil Society Forum. Miss, before that, ki sa kopa hape, ki kopa le fane fela ka ntho e nyenyana fela hore le ke le mamele fela motsotswana fela sentse re tlo qeta. Kopa le thole dijo mara le je ntse le thotse hore baetapele ba kgone ho bua. If ke fa wena marapo modulasetulo wa ka.
Amandla, Matla, all the power All the power. PCA, Comrades Mpiwe, the MEC of Health, who's also Sensia, our chairperson, Deputy President, Mr. Mabuza, Mentombela, ministers, deputy ministers in attendance, chairperson, the traditional leaders who are here with us today. The Deputy Executive Mayor of Mangaung Municipality, Ke mainaka. Kalina. For those who don't understand our native, MECs of Health, MECs who are all here today, the co-deputy chairpersons of SANEC civil society leaders who are here, the Provincial Council on AIDS who are here, the deputy chairperson of the Private Sector Forum, Comrade Losi, who's standing representing organized labor, meaning all federations that we have in SANEC, the US Ambassador to United Nations family that is coordinating us at a global level, that is led here by UNAIDS Country Director Meiva Kiwango, us with the trustees that are here. Thank you so much for gracing us. The CEO of SANEC, Dr. Kulu. Let me send greetings to a special mention to the people living with HIV sector. Of course, earlier we heard from Comrade Selomo Kalipi. World AIDS Day is commemorated every year, died before us. This year's theme is equalize and integrate to end AIDS. It is time for us to reflect. We've taken enough stock through our national strategic plan and STIs. And of course, we celebrate the successes and we remember what remains to be done. At the end of 2022, almost 3 years after, we are a country that has promised to end AIDS by 2030, and we've joined the world in doing so. The world is off track. South Africa remains at. Let us remind ourselves, to end AIDS, we must end the inequalities that are blocking progress. The progress where we want to see 0 new infections and 0 death. Today, 1 million people, yet of those, 36% live below the national poverty line, and 25% are people who are not employed. In this district, we still need to catch up. Aung has displayed 94, 73, 94 in terms of performance against the 95, 95, 95 targets. Over the last couple of weeks, with people living with HIV having been in the province from the 7th of November, listening to communities providing the much needed health services, presented their findings and challenges and possible solutions to the MEC of Health as part of the community-led monitoring program. We need to learn from our brothers and sisters who, and also in communities. We have witnessed the bold leadership and advocacy, their passion, resourcefulness, and relevance in communities. I would like us to give a round of applause for the sterling contribution by civil society sectors that did stellar policy in action activation as part of the build-up activities. For the first time, we worked with the Department of Correctional Service, Minister and Premier, civil society led by faith sector, PLHIV research sector, sports, arts and culture, interacted with offenders of Bizarre Makate and Grootfontein correctional centers. Challenges. The men and women at these correctional facilities are part of society, and we need to ensure that we include them in our intervention. Nobody, even in the correctional facilities, must be left behind. In our was buzzing with activations. Sectors were implementing. Women's sector, Malibongwe. Labor sector, Qina Msebenzi. Youth sector, and we will never stop paying attention to your needs and to the services you require. Traditional health sectors, Thokozani. We saw with departments, various departments were there, ministers, deputy ministers, MECs that were participating. This Minister of Health and Premier provides us with a rich history of TB and STI response. This history will not and can never be erased. We must appreciate the phenomenal work of all 18 sectors based on the needs of key and vulnerable population. Minister of Health, we have not yet reached equalization. Stigma and discrimination, or its fears, is still a reality for many of us. Both the successes, less we tear down the inequalities. Minister of Health, we need to promote people-centered, right-based approaches and work together in communities. As South Africa, we have a long way. Women, children, LGBTI people, and murders that are targeting key and vulnerable are continuing cause of concern. Key and vulnerable population are often in where we move around with stigma and discrimination. End stigma, end. Down with stigma, down. Today, Minister, 30 years ago, the AIDS Anele Yawa, as Comrade Sibongile Chabalala, to come present the Human Rights Charter to the Minister. This was supported by SANEC as part of the development of. We know we have come a long way. We need to own up to the development of the process and pay attention. Minister, please receive the charter. Come through. Asina lovalo, asina lovalo, kulento siye va.
Kulento esiyenzayo, kulento esiyenzayo, kulento esiyenzayo.
Thank you, Amandla. So, on this World AIDS Day, we are calling out, and we are calling out in one voice. It's a call to action, a call proven for practical actions to help end AIDS by 2030. We want services that are available, affordable, or townships, it does not matter. We must equalize same services everywhere. This also means, Minister of Health, our government must provide financial TB and STI response. We appreciate international aids provided. But I want to say this. International aids, Minister, must not divide us as South to divide us. This must end. We appreciate it. We want to make use of it because we are in the business of saving lives. But money must never be abused. We must decolonize the legal environment. No person in our country should be criminalized because of consensual sex work. We have one Africa. Yesterday, Cabinet approved decriminalization of sex work. When you pass this bill, and we hope in Parliament and our President will do justice to this act. We commend you, sex workers, continue a big task, and that big task, we want you now to pass the hate crimes bill. We will not allow women like Belinda, Makua, Areroge as batho ba batsho. Accept this in South Africa where we are discriminated in our own country. It ended in apartheid, it will never be repeated now. Pass hate crimes and hate speech bill now. It's important not on the basis of our color of the skin. It's important also for LGBTI people who continue. Minister of Health, I hope after this visit to Free State, we begin a period for social response in communities behind. Our effort to protect our communities are never finished. We need to strive to make equality a success. We remain focused. We remain to pay attention in the fair and robust manner. Premier, Free State needs a healthy economy. For our population to be healthy, the economy can be healthy. It needs a healthy population, then our economy will be healthy. And we need to do so. Let's not leave people behind. Let's continue meaningfully. Cities need our collective action now more than ever. We will equalize. Ho ya rona, ho ya rona, ho ya rona. Lisang magwala acheche le morao. Ho ya rona, ho ya rona, ho ya rona. Ho ya rona, ho ya rona, ho acheche. Ho ya rona bape. Lisang magwala acheche. Pambili, pambili, siambili, siaya, siaya. Noma besi tubula, besi bopa. Besi sha
Chairperson, o ubuile. The co-chair of SANEC ubuile. Ki kopa jwale re fefela sentse re tlo qeta. Ke nana nna ke ema for the last time. And then I will hand over MEC at the program. Ke eme hangata ho mo feta. Jwale sallang le yena jwale. Kopa ke re enjoy message of support from Chairperson wa SANAC wa Civil Society Forum, also the co-chair SANAC. Ke kopa ngala atle atlon thola staging. Ki qetile. Ki a leboha tshebisano mmoho ya lona nakong tse ke tsamaisa program. Premier Arai co-chair o qeta jwang batho ba so qeti. Ha ke so qeti he. Ke tlo khutla because jwale chairperson wa PCA o re le khale. Ke kopa Thabiso Ngala. Re celebrate a statement ek bonisi celebrate. Ha re tlo e pata tabe now because re declined. Le nna ke declined. So ha re tlo khona o ipata e tla be clear. Le ba ipatang o tla ntutso e ipatile jwalo. Sex work, it's work. Ngala.
Ako sa pematsoho. Shaizant. Uyababisa bonkuno. Baba kelinga nawe. Watimfuli yesa. Onkenando. Watimfuli yesa. Onkenando. Akuku. Uyababisa bonkuno. Baba kelinga nawe. Watimfuli yesa. Onkenando. Akuku blam. Uyababisa yesa. Onkenando. No. Agosha izandla. Uyababisa okuno. Baba Kelly. Hey.
Galeboa, galeboa. Galeboa. Galeboa, Tabina.
Thank you.
Humonati impa mosebetsi wa rona ha o so nakong ya jwale re bitse come itshware Ma-comrades, itshwareng. Itshwareng, re tla bina. Re kopa le mamele melaetsa e setseng ya bohlokwa. Ka kopo. Re kopa nakong ya jwale re tla re bitsetsa podium Miss Eva Kuiwa.
It's very hard to come after all that singing, but I'll try my best. Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Joe Pala, Civil Society Forum Chairperson and Co-Chair of Honorable Deputy Ministers present, Mangaun Metropolitan Municipality Deputy Mayor, Councillor May Motibi, Ntis and councillors present, Free State House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders Chairperson, Hosi Mopeli, Sanak Private Sector Forum Deputy Chairperson, Mayor Dr. Gopane, Mayor Dr. Tembi, Free State Civil Society Leader and Co-Chair of the Provincial Council on AIDS, Ntate Mokoena, and all civil society leaders here today. Marcelo, thank you for your passion and for your call for 360 World AIDS Days. The representative of UNICEF, my sister, Me Muhigana, Christina, Free State. Thank you for hosting this year's World AIDS Day. World AIDS Day is a moment for us to honor those who have lost their lives to AIDS, takes as part of the Sustainable Development Goals. The United Nations family in South Africa stands in solidarity with South Africa today. The rationale for this year's theme, equalize and continues to fuel the HIV epidemic. The same is true for the TB epidemic, long considered a disease of poverty. The theme is particularly pertinent to South Africa, class, by gender, and by geography. This week we launched a powerful new report called Dangerous Inequalities. In it, we call the world's attention to the painful reality. Reason is inequality. But there is good news. By equalizing and integrating, we can end AIDS. Firstly, we must equalize for women and girls, 200,000. With adolescent girls and young women aged 15 to 24 years, 4 times more likely to be infected with HIV. The driving factor is reduces their vulnerability to HIV by 50%. When we include comprehensive sexuality education, their risk is reduced even further. The AIDS pandemic. Gender-based violence is increasing women's risk of HIV infection and constraining their access to life-saving services. Higher chance of acquiring HIV. We need to reduce sexual and gender-based violence from the ground up. We need to ensure that children are socialized, social protection, expand social welfare, to ensure we deal more decisively with poverty and hunger. We must, against marginalized communities, is hurting the HIV response. We will not end AIDS unless we end it for everyone. The evidence is clear. And people who use drugs saves lives. In South Africa, the HIV incidence among men who have sex with men has declined by 58% between 2010 and 2020. We also need to fight stigma. Stigma is the sentence passed by society on people who are for people living with HIV and for marginalized communities. We need every leader to step up, politicize, equalize. Thirdly, an inequality that breaks my heart is that against children living with HIV. And no child who has HIV should be without treatment. In South Africa, children account for only 3% of people living with HIV. Acceptable. We will not allow this shameful and avoidable injustice. Lastly and crucially, to end AIDS, we must tackle the inequalities in resourcing. The COVID crisis and global conflicts have increased inequality worldwide, times more than they spend on health. In the midst of the crisis of debt, austerity, and inequality, we must not see cuts in development assistance. The time is now. It is not the World AIDS Day lets us recommit and reinvigorate South Africa's HIV and TB response. We need to strengthen community-led, youth and men health-friendly services. We need to provide with the National AIDS Council and communities around South Africa to equalize access to rights, equalize access to services, equalize access to resources, and equalize access to the best science. I thank you.
Ke kopa le thole hanyane fela. Just be quiet hanyane o change mood. What is formal program? Kopa le thole hanyane ke change mood. What is program? Le thole
Somebody somewhere, Tolamura, I hallelujah. The question, hallelujah.
Amen.
Yeah. When I can see yeah.
must. It is not a plan, it's a must for us to stop HIV and AIDS. It's a must that by 2030 it will be CEO. Nkapese. Halala, 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 halala. Hosa. Aibo. Tshware. Halala, civil society. Haititiane. Freistata haititiane. Can you believe it? We are hosting World AIDS Day right in the Free State. Can you believe it? World AIDS. Mau batho ba modimo ke Freistata mona. Mamelang he. Shh. Mamelang. Let me just say, Minister, Akisabata Lukala Huyahari, time is against us. Let Akiri Rize, Mamelang, Akibu Inahe Tulel, Nakai Tulel, Civil Kai Tulel and Tatem Queen. I Nakibu. Shh. Bao Babu Amo. Mamelang. Do you still remember 41 years back? Do you remember the first day when all of us, we started to hear about HIV and AIDS? Do you still remember Osahopola, Libito, La Kukudlamini? Do you still remember what happened to Kukudlamini? Do you still remember Thabo? Do you still remember how did we feel when people were talking about HIV and AIDS? Do you still remember the discrimination? Do you still remember the treatment?
This world, with my soul.
Now, Usahopula. Members have an about they are HIV positive. Some, Baneba Tolakamati, others, Babile Babula, where they have been killed. Allah others, Baneba Batoragarbana Lilipera. Wafi, today, Ikara HIV and AIDS is, but you know, there is absolute nothing. We accept each other. Even getting married, there is absolute nothing. We live a normal life. Ujeso, uzafika ekuseni. Today, we have survived. Here we are. Hari party. We accept, hore, our brothers and sisters have HIV and AIDS. And they are using their medication, we are getting our treatment, and we are living a normal life. And 2030, it will not be here. We are going to work together, and we are going to finish it. Ujeso, uzafika. Debo, Sidi guy ma, Debo kiat guy. Ikai ujeso fika kusen. Ikai Sidi. Say,
Tebo. TPP. Kopana plakamo. GBV. HIV. Plakamo. Civil society. Traditional leaders. Everybody. Water. Bible. Bambegesa, Dandio Genana, Mato! Wena kasibi. Itshware. Teboho. Mamela.
They know about their status. Almost 95% of them basebedisa dipilisi tsabo. Others bantse ba sa di sebedisa. Ke mosebetsi wa rona le that your government is supporting you and they will keep on supporting you and they will love you. Those officials that are not treating you right, they must listen now. Our children, and you have done nothing wrong to be HIV positive. Gender-based violence, I know that we are fighting it together, and we must continue to fight it. It must stop. And Kiluna, Lelitari Tusa, we stop. Makwela, Rinon. Omohau, Amodimo. Bye bye.
Omohau, Irua, Amodimo. Ikwesa,
Teboho.
Itjena province
Itshware
ena.
Teboho, batho ba
Mema
lapile.
Ntombe. Mema Ntombe.
Teboho, ke kopa o
Itjena he
itshware.
province ena. Ha itjitiane itjena. Na isali uphile. Yeah.
Ke kopa o ke o itshware Teboho, re tseba ho qetela. Re kopa ho qetella mosebetsi wa rona hantle. Ha nne re mamelane jwalo ka ha ne ntse re mamelang. Wa bona wena Teboho o so itsamaisa jwale. O ka ga o sa mamela. Ene wa itshenyele ba dule fatshe ba ntseng ba eme ka maoto. Hobane re tlo emisa motho wa bohlokwa. Ya tlo bua le rona hona jwale ke Minister wa Health, Dr. Joe Phaahla. O tlo bua a buella yena, a bile a buella le the chairperson of SANAC, Deputy President Mabuza. So le understand hore ke molaetsa the main minister, Dr. Joe Phaahla.
Thank you very much. Re a leboga. MEC, re ka dula fatshe. Ke a leboga. Comrade Steve, our leadership of SANAC. Next time, we tla mo Freistata mo. It's day mo Mangaung. Re tle the whole day. Re qale ka breakfast. Re je lunch. Re je le dinner. Ebe ga re feditse World AIDS Day. Mo Mangaung mo. Ke a leboga. Bjale ka ge ba buile mo gore ke tlile mo gape ke emetse gape le modulasetulo bjalo ke tlo bua mo ke ipuela bjale ka ministera wa maphelo ke bua gape legatong la yena deputy president ke tla gagolo ke shebe mo molaetseng wa gage o mogolo o na tla ba re file ona ka tseno. Let me greet our host, the premier. Re a mmona gore premier, she is still young at heart. O santse a ema o santse a ira di get down. Re leboge le bo Tebogo mo ba ntse ba mo ira gore a be le get down. Our host, on behalf of the city of Mangaung, our honorable deputy mayor who welcome our traditional leaders led by Mrena Neo Mupedi. On behalf of from civil society, our comrade leader of labor, Mayor Zingiswa Losi, on behalf of our motive forces, the labor movement. The US ambassador to South Africa in his absence, but is still represented here. He had to apologize due to some urgent matters. He had to leave for Pretoria. My sisters acknowledge the fact that we do have in our midst the trustees of SANAC, led by our chairperson of the trust, Mr. Abunolo Ramukele, and other trustees who are present here. Baetapele kaofela ba leng teng mo from private sector forum, who already spoke to us here, Dr. Kopane, and all other leaders who are here. Dumelang batho ba Freistata gagolo, dumelang. Batho ba Pere Tshweu, dumelang. It is to unite in the fight against HIV and AIDS and sexually transmitted infections. We also stand here to support people living with HIV and remember those who have passed away, and that's why we are lighting candles earlier on here. That we have made as a country and as a nation, but also as members of the world community in the fight against AIDS, and the commitment to eliminate AIDS as a threat to our lives by the year 2030, as all of us very appropriate, is equalize and integrate to end AIDS, because we reflect in that the world is still very unequal, and as a country we are also still very unequal. This theme is a wake-up call. These inequalities include poverty, exclusion, and inadequate access to services, particularly for vulnerable populations such as transgender, sex workers, which were further. We thank everybody who played a role in making sure that today we can meet in this fashion in commemorating World AIDS Day. We know that a year ago, this time, we were in the midst of the fourth wave, blocked from traveling because of the outbreak of Omicron. But we are thankful for the role of our health workers, community leaders, and everybody who made sure that we can mobilize people, make sure we get vaccinated. That's why today, we of the Free State and Mangaung leadership for making sure that the people can be able to turn out in these big numbers today as we commemorate this very important day. In contrast to early predictions, the COVID pandemic, to be felt more amongst the disadvantaged communities. Our low-income households are the ones who are suffering the most and feel more marginalized, especially after the affected by the pandemic as well, in the same way as also in as far as HIV, AIDS, and TB. As the world economy is starting to improve from this pandemic, communities are counting. The lockdowns have led to loss of jobs and a lot of income for many households. So the issue of equalization, as per this year's theme, is critical because we understand that the burden of HIV and make sure that all parts of our health as a human being together, we attend to all of those so that people can have a long and healthy life. If anything, the COVID pandemic has highlighted and integrate our services to speed up HIV prevention, treatment, and care and support. Just like the way we got together in the fight against COVID-19, which
ke kopa re hlompheng minister wa bua hle batho ba heso ke a kopa movement wa dijo e ha o be teng batho be limited ke a kopa re hlompe minister sale disrupted
kwa ba re ga o tshwere ke tlala ba e bitsa gore ba re ke matebele a bina. I know it's not a very good saying. It sounds like derogatory to the developed people, but maybe it means that but if we can just be able to bear with the program so that we could be able to conclude. I was just on the point of indicating that as we remobilize and recommit ourselves in the fight against HIV and AIDS and sexuality, the way we committed to the fight against COVID, and as a result of which we are where we are today, where we can meet as in this fashion in big numbers. At the present moment, we are developing a COVID. We have put in place catch-up plans to make sure that we can recover from lost ground. There are a number of people who have not been able to be started on treatment as a result of the lockdowns. We now have these catch-up plans, those who will not be able to be tested, to be put on treatment. So we are quite advanced in as far as the new strategic plan. Now, this strategic plan has already the draft commemorating our World TB Day. Now, the plan, where we are now, we are in the extended completion of our previous 2017-2022 National Strategic Plan, which was supposed to be complete. Now, this is the strategic plan which will take us towards our goal, the United Nations goal, which we are all party to eliminate HIV and AIDS as a threat to our health by 2030. Take us to 2028, which will be only 2 years before we can conclude our target of elimination of HIV and AIDS as a major as a major threat to our services. But of 95% of all South Africans knowing their HIV status, but also making sure that 95% of those who know their status are also on treatment. And lastly, making sure that 95% of those who are on treatment also have viral suppression. And as already mentioned by previous speakers, we still have a lot of catch-up as we'll see from the figures, we still have a lot of catch up. As of 2021, 85% of people with HIV knew their status. At the end of 2021, 85% of those who knew their status were also on treatment, and 92% of those who were getting treatment had their virus controlled. The Free State has done except the problem is in terms of treatment and suppression. The overall population served by the public and private sectors in this province is now at 94% of people knowing their status. 86% of those who know their status are on treatment, and 92% of those who are on treatment are virally suppressed. But there's for knowing your status, being on treatment, but also making sure that you are virally suppressed. The results from districts, some of the districts are nevertheless not at the same level as it is across the province. Districts such as Harib and Lijoli Putswa, they're still lagging behind, and we need it in order to reach our 0 new infections by 2030. What we need to do, it means that we need to bring more services closer to the people, closer in our health facilities, but also in terms of outreach programs, and make sure that we do have the resources in terms of treatment. Now, I have been assured by our team here from the province, but also national society, from the private sector, at the present moment, and also thanks to our partners who are giving us support, PEPFAR, Global Health, and all the others who are giving us that support, we don't have a problem in terms of actual availability of antiretrovirals. So what we need to do is more to make sure that we can test more people and make sure that we can reach out to them and start the treatment. At the present, our country's HIV prevalence has been going down, as already reflected earlier on, from 2010 up to where we are now, almost over 45% reduction. We still have a very high prevalence of 13.5%, which has been the same over the last 5 years. And that is so because the number of people, as the population increases, the number of people who are... So the path that our country has taken, as well as our contribution to the mission of achieving the objective of 0 AIDS-related deaths, we must make sure that we reach 0 new infections. But also we must deal with the stigma, we must deal with the prejudice, which a number of speakers have already spoken about. In the past year, KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, and Mpumalanga at 15.9%, and the Free State at the level of 14.8%. While the Western Cape was the province with the lowest at 8.3, followed by Northern Cape. So it looks like the Capes have a lower prevalence of HIV. Dr. Hopani, your province of Northern Cape is amongst those which still have a lower prevalence, but at the end, that we can reduce our new infections. The majority of burden of new infections is largely in the Black African community, vulnerable populations, and that's where we need to put our focus. Our concerted effort now needs to address the alarming and substantial increase in all put our efforts to focus on. These new infections occur in young people, especially between the ages of 15 and 24. And these are this is really the wealth of our country, the young people. And according to the research, this is continued to be rising. According to the Tembisa model, the infections amongst young people is still rising, and that's where we need to really put a lot of awareness and also improve messages in as far as prevention is concerned. In this context, we want to applaud the work that SANAC has been doing, and also the launch of the South African National Youth HIV Prevention Program and strategy, which was launched by our Deputy Minister, Dr. Lomo, in June last year, which amongst young people. The strategy focuses on integration of key health and social services, youth development programs, social and behavior change, communication, mobilization, and increased access amongst the young people to products for prevention services. The ultimate goal of this campaign is to stem the tide. And also, we need to focus more on young girls and young women, adolescent girls and young women, because they are the most affected. In the same vein, targeted infections, we have established the National Sensitization Training Initiative, which aims to reduce stigma and prejudice communities than in other sectors of society. Our programs are made to make sure that they can be reached much easier and be able to redress this very serious imbalance and bring services closer, especially to our high-risk communities. To sustain our efforts towards from provinces mobilized across from province, district, and also at the national level. And in this regard, the Deputy President just a few weeks ago called a meeting of all the premiers to recommit them. And we were very happy that on that virtual meeting, almost, I think only one premier was not present. And I was not able to attend that plenary. So the Deputy President is again calling on all our premiers, mayors, to make sure that they can, increase their commitment in as far as the fight against HIV and AIDS, but also calling on traditional authorities and Khoisan leaders to make sure that this can be achieved. As a government, we are doing in this regard, but a lot of work still needs to be done. In the past, we know that, as already reflected by the Premier, being tested positive for HIV was almost a death threat. But today, with all the available treatments, and we keep on improving with our scientists and researchers, the efficacy and also safety of our treatment safer, with less and less side effects. And we want to encourage people to come forward to get these treatments so that we can all be able to live a longer life. And also, as already indicated, I think it was by the US ambassador, that when you are taking your treatment, if the viral load is suppressed, you also don't pass the infection. Today, we can congratulate a healthy life, and we want to make sure that the over 1 million who have not yet reached, we should be able to find them and make sure that they can be also be able to be put on treatment. We need the support and collaboration so that we can be able to eliminate AIDS as a threat by 2030. Already, I think my sister here has already we are not doing well at all. While we still have a lot of catch up in as far as older people, in children, we are only standing at 57% on treatment, which is really a scandal. So we need to do a lot more to get children to be, those who are HIV positive, to be diagnosed, to be tested, and to be put on treatment. We need to do a lot. There are countries across our neighbors. As we speak here, comrades and leaders, just our neighbor here, Botswana, when we were at the SADC meeting just about 4 weeks ago, and also at the Africa WHO regional meeting, Botswana did report that they have totally eliminated mother-to-child transmission. We are still HIV positive. We are just at about 0.6% still. So we can deal with that 0.6% down to 0, so that no child is born HIV positive. A lot has already been said about GBV and femicide. We want to say again that we acknowledge the fact that GBV and femicide are also a number of young girls who are falling pregnant, teenage pregnancy. Not long ago, we were getting reports from Stats SA of children, girls as young as 10 years, 9 years, who are leaving school. Deputy Minister of Basic Education can attest to that. Now, that's why we have this high prevalence of HIV infections amongst young girls. So, to the gender-based violence and femicide. So we're saying that equally as we are fighting against HIV, AIDS, and TB, we must equally also commit with all our partners to make sure that we can eliminate gender-based violence. So the dual epidemics of HIV, AIDS, and gender-based violence also is not just access to this medication, but again, the question of stigma still remains very big. And we are very happy that comrades from the PLHIV, very strong, very organized, we must all rally behind the organizations of people living with HIV, because through that, we can be able to get more people to feel AIDS. There are many people suffering from AIDS who are not killed by the disease itself, but are killed by the stigma surrounding everyone who has HIV and AIDS, a close quote. So that is just to remind us that stigma is still a very important barrier in terms of the reason why we are still not able to reach as a country. There are many districts which have not even reached the 90% of people knowing their status. And that the stigma is one of the major impediments. Our mayors, our councillors, political leaders, traditional leaders to come and also labor. Well, I'm very happy, as Comrade Losi was saying, in terms of also workplace testing. We must make sure that access to testing is not a barrier in terms of making sure that more people, but you must also deal with this issue of doing away with stigma. So as a government, we are determined to work even harder to mobilize all sectors in order to strengthen our collective response to the dual epidemics, HIV, AIDS, femicide. On this note, I want to say thank you to the leadership of the Free State under Premier Mantombela and all your team. I'm very happy to see that quite a number of MECs are also here, also from the local authorities, from that the leaders are also here, and also from the civil society and also from private sector, chair and the leader of the civil society. We thank you, but also to the CEO of SANAC and all the team from Team SANAC for all the work which you have done before today, the mobilization, the sensitization, the awareness, and we say that indeed with our commitment, with all our partners, the National Development Plan achievements, but we will also achieve elimination of HIV and AIDS as a threat to our health, to our lives. Thank you very much. Re a leboga, ba Vrystaat. Re a leboga.
Just one last thing. We are going to give assistive devices to some of our people living with disabilities. We are now integrating, Minister, as Free State. And we want to also thank Vodacom. They donated 3 wheelchairs, which the district will receive. The district, and I'm going to talk to now to the recipients of wheelchairs that come from the Department of Health. Karabo Silakoma. Karabo. And I'm going to request the Minister and the Premier and Mapaseka, Comrade Mapaseka, can you hand over the wheelchairs? Are they here?
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Which one's yours? Leanne, which one's yours? Which one's yours? The big ticket. No. I wonder how the security ticket works.
Okay. The government chief will be. But also to pledge solidarity with those. Dr. Parker, thank you so much for your time. In 2016, the nations affiliated to the United Nations made a commitment to end HIV. We are now 7, if not 8 years away from that deadline. Are we anywhere? Sorry. Please take it. I'll have to take it. World AIDS Commemoration event to Bloemfontein in the Free State to honor those who succumbed to the pandemic, but also to pledge solidarity with those who are living.
Among us, I say protocol observe. But without any waste of time again, let me say, Honorable Premier, on behalf of SADC, it ensures that it consider us as the state government in ensuring that we commemorate this World AIDS Day here in the Congo. We just like to thank SANAC,
Yes, it won't be quick more than sponsored.
Going forward, as we continue holding different programs around HIV and AIDS challenges, we'll continue doing it. Thank you very much.
Very rousing speech from the podium. Get a very rousing speech from the podium. A lot of heart, but also a lot of practical interventions. Let me give a lecture confirmation.
On behalf of the provincial government. Thank you.
Dumale. I can't hear. Just a second.
And leadership
Hello.
dijo di tla itlisa mo dutseng teng le tlo alawa leadership after mo premier a qete ka o fana ka di-president mona le alawa leadership e dutseng kwano e tswe leadership from SANAC etsa announcement premier a le tswe pele la qeta ntho a tlo e etsa mona mara yona le tlo dula le dutse jwalo di tla itlisa ho lona then the role of leadership decided SANAC ke bona ba tla tswa ha mo premier a qetile a se a tswa and then le ya ka mane mo le lo jela teng but o tla tlatsa le entertain ha ntse le dutse ke a leboha
president of Nahau, Stella Uzelapa Mama, also on the stage, hey, where's the minister? Minister of Health? Minister of Health, President. Sing Amatuba Wetu just to symbolize peace. And then, yes, how about to go about the peace? I can see women if you had that Teresa, Hoto Pulanala, Freestata, the world. Akabine Munate, Arthur President, Chekelema, Renali, Deputy Minister, Magalibanga, I can see it. Is it fine? You don't mind? Italwana Kamau. Okay. 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 But pay my banana. Yes, they know what to do. It's state here. See a Tagata, give them. My van. Amangiane, 5 million. Okay. Babu was saying, kids happy the way. Okay. What we say? I will tell you. You feel it. I look. I don't know it's an extra. Hey. Let's go. Let's go. I will count until 7.
Oh. Whether they said that.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Ole. Yes,
2030.
I am. Keep it out on the screen. As soon as it comes down, I'll grab it.
Everything Khadija on the stage, please. Message, Lemon Tena, is 3 stage here. Bafen Kota Wadakiwa na FC.
Okay, Ole. Ole, come to us. We're going outside from the hall. We're gonna grab him now. We have an opportunity now. Huh? I wrote it. It's the CEO has put. It's the chairperson of the Senate, Steve Litzike, the chair.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I actually look. I got the first one wrong. It's Steve Litzike who will be the chairperson of the
CEO.
Can we have it? Can we? Where do you want to go now? Now. Yeah, now.
They don't know what it takes.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't know what goes with this.
And now
they don't understand how
it
works. And many things. down even with the weekend. That's why it was so chaotic. Because in the planning, it was never. She gets me with it.
Hey, how are you? I'm good, thank you. Thanks for speaking to us. We will just
Where am I facing?
So I'm gonna do a little bit of an intro, answer a few questions, and then come to you.
So I'm facing this way.
You look at me.
I look at you. That's what I mean. All right.
They're very excited to have you on the channel as well. So that's all I've been hearing today. So this is a big coup for me. Here they are. Here they are. Standing by. I can't hear Okay, listen guys, I can't hear you properly. Can they turn down the sound a bit? I'm Paul, is that you? I hear you very faintly behind programming, but I can hear you. I'm standing by. I'm standing by. Huh? Can you get me now? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well, in terms of Dr. Joe Carter's statement, something that Boston government's already well established messaging, messages of abstinence, messages of course, safe or safer sex, and also encouraging those who are already on treatment to ensure that they remain on treatment in a bid to cut the scourge's impact on the lives of many of the importance of World AIDS Day. Who joins me now is going to be Dr. Thembisile Kulu. Dr. Kulu, thanks for speaking to us here on News from Africa. The importance of the day again.
The importance has 8 million people who are HIV infected. Only 5.7 are on treatment. Therefore, we have a treatment gap of just around 2 million. And we need to get people back on treatment, the ones that fell off during COVID, but more than anything, the ones that are on treatment, we want them to stay on treatment so they are virally suppressed, and to encourage communities to test to get on treatment and to stay on treatment. Not just for HIV, for TB, but also for other chronic illnesses like diabetes, hypertension, because we are saying integrate, equalize and integrate in order to end AIDS.
Lopsided in terms of its impact, especially on women. It seems to be a gender specific in terms of its worst impact. Have strides been made there, or what can be done to turn that around?
I think the difficulty has been brought on, for instance, with things like gender-based violence. The face of HIV in South Africa is the woman is exposed to intimate partner violence. She's up to 4 times more likely to be HIV infected. And as much as women get access to health services because they come through when they are pregnant and bring their children, when they get to